The Alien Academy of Sciences was the pride of the galaxy. Built on a shining orbital station above a peaceful blue star, it gathered the brightest young minds from many worlds. Students of every size, shape, and color filled its halls. Tall insectoids from Hrax, silver-scaled reptiles from Corinne, and feathery avians from Ziwa RN walked together, their eyes filled with curiosity. They had come to learn the highest sciences, the deepest philosophies, and the safest ways to expand knowledge. But on this day, something unusual was about to happen. For the first time in the Academy's long history, the teacher of the main lecture hall was not an alien. He was human. The students gathered early, whispering to each other. Many of them had only heard strange stories about humans. Some said they came from a violent, unstable planet. Others believed they were a weak and backward species who had only recently entered space. None of the students believed that a human had anything valuable to teach them. A tall avian with red feathers leaned toward his friend. "Why would the council allow this?" he whispered. "What can a human know that we do not already know?" A reptilian student hissed softly. "Perhaps they want us to laugh. I heard humans can barely survive without machines." The room filled with quiet laughter. The young minds expected an amusing show, nothing more. Then the doors opened. The human walked in slowly, calmly, as if the weight of dozens of alien eyes meant nothing to him. He was not armored, not armed, not even nervous. He wore only simple clothing, a dark jacket, plain boots, and a thin datapad in one hand. His face was unreadable, his eyes steady. The laughter died quickly. Something in his calmness unsettled the students. He placed the pad on the podium, looked around the massive hall, and spoke in a voice that carried strength without shouting. "Good morning. Today," he said, pausing to let the silence grow, "we will learn why humans are called Deathworlders." Gasps rippled through the audience. A feathered student dropped his pen. A scaled alien shook her head in disbelief. Most of them thought the word was just a myth, a scary bedtime tale told to children. Deathworlders. The term was spoken in hushed tones, never in a lecture hall. One insectoid student raised a claw. "Excuse me, teacher," she said nervously. "That cannot be real. No planet can be so hostile. It would be impossible to evolve life there." The human gave a small smile. "Impossible? Then perhaps you should see it with your own eyes." He tapped his pad. At once, a hologram filled the hall. The room darkened, and the glowing image of Earth appeared above the podium. It spun slowly, a swirling ball of blue oceans, green forests, and white storms. At first, the students murmured in awe. It looked beautiful, peaceful, but then the images changed. The hologram zoomed in on volcanic eruptions, rivers of molten lava destroying villages. It showed hurricanes tearing apart coastlines with screaming winds. Earthquakes split the ground open, swallowing entire cities. Students gasped. A reptilian covered his eyes with his hands. The human's voice was calm, almost too calm. "This is my home, Earth. To you, it may look like paradise from space. But step closer and you will see the truth. Volcanoes, storms, earthquakes, poisonous plants, predators hiding in every forest. A place where everything, from the smallest insect to the largest ocean, can kill you." The hologram shifted again. Enormous predators appeared, lions leaping on prey, crocodiles dragging animals into rivers, sharks circling beneath the waves. Students shrieked in surprise. A feathery alien almost fell from her seat, wings trembling. The human waited for silence before speaking again. And yet, somehow we survived. We did not only survive, we thrived. We built homes beside volcanoes, sailed oceans filled with monsters, walked across frozen mountains, and fought predators with nothing but sticks and stones. Whispers filled the room. Shock, fear, disbelief. An avian raised his wing. "Why?" he asked, his voice shaking. "Why not leave? Why not run from such danger?" The human looked directly at him. His eyes were calm, but they held something else, something hard like steel. "Because, young one, danger was never something we could escape. On Earth, there was nowhere safe to hide. We had only two choices: face it or die. The silence that followed was heavy. For the first time, the students felt something they had never felt in a classroom before: fear. The insectoid from earlier leaned toward her friend, whispering so softly her voice almost vanished in the dark. If this is true, if they come from such a place, then what does that make them? The human seemed to hear her, even from across the room. His voice cut through the silence. It makes us Deathworlders. And today, you will understand why danger does not frighten us, but teaches us. The hologram shifted again. Poisonous plants filled the air with toxins. Bright-colored frogs, deadly snakes, insects carrying diseases that killed millions. The students recoiled. Some began to shake. The human folded his arms and watched them carefully. His calmness was not arrogance. It was something deeper, something earned. He ended the display with a final image: a human child walking through a storm, holding the hand of his mother. Lightning crashed around them. The mother smiled, pointing toward the horizon. The child did not cry. The hologram faded. Lights returned. The human looked at the silent hall and spoke in a steady tone. This is the world that raised us. This is why we do not fear danger. To us, danger is not an enemy. It is a teacher. The words echoed in the minds of every student. No one laughed now. No one whispered. For the first time in their young lives, they felt the weight of the title, Deathworlders. And the lesson had only just begun. The alien students sat frozen in their seats. The glowing hologram of Earth filled the wide lecture hall, spinning slowly in the air. Volcanoes erupted on one side of the globe. Storms twisted across oceans. Lightning flashed, mountains shook, and strange creatures with teeth and claws prowled in the jungles. The human teacher, Mr. Carter, stood in front of the hologram with his hands behind his back. His calm voice cut through the silence. Earth, he said, we call home. Others call it a death world. The students shifted uncomfortably. A tall insectoid student raised a trembling claw. That is not possible. A world like this cannot support life. Mr. Carter looked at him and smiled. And yet, billions of us live there. Gasps filled the hall. The students had read stories, myths, and rumors about humans. They believed most of it was exaggeration. No one thought a species could come from such a place. A lizard-like alien leaned forward, eyes narrow. How did your kind not die? The storms alone would wipe out entire colonies. Mr. Carter turned the hologram to focus on the ocean. Giant waves crashed against rocky coasts. We did die, he said simply. Many times, entire villages vanished in storms, earthquakes, and fires. But we learned. We rebuilt. Every disaster taught us something new. The students exchanged nervous looks. For their species, one natural disaster often meant extinction or permanent retreat. But this human spoke of survival as if it was routine. He tapped the hologram again. Now the image shifted to Earth's wildlife. Lions hunting, wolves running, snakes striking, eagles diving. The alien students flinched at the sight of teeth and claws. These are only a few predators, Carter explained. Our ancestors faced them with nothing but sticks and stones. We were weaker, slower, softer than them. But we were clever. We learned to hunt the hunters. A bird-like alien whispered, "Impossible." Her feathers trembled as she watched a group of humans surround a lion with spears. Mr. Carter's eyes scanned the room. For us, danger was not rare. It was everywhere. We had two choices: fear or adapt. We chose to adapt. Silence filled the hall again, but this time it was heavier. The alien students no longer laughed. Their eyes showed fear, but also a strange kind of respect. Then a young reptilian student stood, his voice shaky. But what about poison? My people avoid one toxic plant on our homeworld. Even touching it kills us. Surely you had the same problem. Carter nodded. He changed the hologram to show Earth's plants. Mushrooms, berries, and vines, many glowing with warning colors. We did. Hundreds of plants, animals, and even water sources were deadly. Many died from mistakes. But slowly, we learned which plants could kill us and which could heal us. We even turned poisons into medicines. The students were stunned. Their species had strict rules. Never go near dangerous plants. Never experiment with toxins. But this human was saying his kind had done the opposite. Finally, one alien couldn't hold back. A tall, armored being with sharp horns rose and asked, "Why? Why risk so much? Why not just hide in safe places?" Carter's expression hardened. His voice grew firm. "Because hiding does not keep you alive forever. On Earth, danger comes whether you hide or not. To survive, we had to face it. We had to grow stronger than the world around us." The words hit the students like a shockwave. They looked at each other, realizing why humans were feared. Not because they were the strongest species, but because they came from a place that forced them to never stop fighting. The insectoid student raised his claw again, this time slowly. "So, danger is normal for you?" Carter gave a single nod. "Yes. We don't fear danger. We expect it. That is what makes us Deathworlders." The alien students whispered in hushed tones, their voices filled with disbelief. For them, danger was rare, something to avoid at all costs. But for this human, danger was life itself. Then Carter leaned forward, his eyes sharp. "And this," he said, "is only the beginning of what you must understand." The hologram flickered again. Now it showed human history, wars, survival through ice ages, plagues, and famine. The students stiffened, their fear rising even higher. Mr. Carter clasped his hands behind his back once more. "Next, I will show you how humans not only survived, but how we thrived in the face of everything that tried to kill us." The room went silent. No one dared to laugh now. Every student sat still, waiting for the next part of the lesson. For the first time, they realized why this human stood before them, so calm and fearless. He had nothing to fear from them, or from anything else. The hologram changed again, and the alien students leaned forward without realizing it. The shining globe of Earth faded into scenes of human history. Villages built on rivers, cities rising, ships crossing dangerous oceans. But then the images shifted, fires, battles, and ruins. Mr. Carter's voice stayed calm, though the pictures showed chaos. "This," he said, "is how we survived not only nature, but ourselves." The first scene showed humans during an ice age, wrapped in animal skins, huddled around a fire. Winds howled across endless snow. "We nearly froze to extinction," Carter explained. "But we made fire. We shaped tools from stone and bone. We hunted animals stronger than us for food and warmth." A student with silver scales raised his hand. "But if the cold lasted for centuries, how could you last so long?" Carter's eyes narrowed, and for the first time, his voice carried a harder edge. "Because we refused to die. Generation after generation fought against the cold. Those too weak perished. The strong endured. We became sharper, faster, more united. Nature tried to erase us, but instead it forged us." The students shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The idea was terrifying, a species tempered by suffering. The hologram changed again. Now, humans fought one another with spears and shields. Entire battlefields stretched across plains, oceans, and mountains. "You see," Carter said, "surviving Earth's dangers was not enough. We soon became danger to ourselves." The insectoid student from before tilted his head. "You fought your own kind? Why?" Carter did not flinch. "Because survival also means competition. We fought for food, for land, for safety, and later, for power, for belief, for pride. War is part of our history." The hologram zoomed in on soldiers charging with swords. Then it shifted again, cannons thundering, smoke covering cities, bombs lighting the sky. The alien students gasped in horror. The bird-like alien covered her beak. "But you killed each other with such force. How could your species endure that?" Carter's gaze swept across the hall. His eyes looked sharp, almost dangerous now. "Because no matter how much blood we spilled, we always rebuilt. Every war destroyed us. Yet every war also made us stronger. We created medicine to heal wounds. We built machines to carry supplies. We discovered ways to feed millions. Even in our darkest times, we grew." The students murmured, disturbed. For them, a war usually meant collapse. Entire civilizations were lost in single battles. But humans treated destruction as another obstacle to overcome. The hologram shifted to plagues. People sick, bodies burning, cities falling silent. Carter spoke softly. Disease nearly wiped us out many times. But we studied it. We learned to cure. We turned suffering into knowledge. A young reptilian student whispered, "But how could you bear so much death?" Carter's eyes softened, but his voice carried weight. We didn't bear it. We grieved, we cried, we buried our dead. But we kept going, because stopping meant extinction. The silence that followed was heavy. Some students lowered their eyes. Others stared at the hologram with wide fear. Then Carter tapped the control again. The screen lit with explosions. Nuclear fire blazed across cities. Alien students leapt back in shock, some shielding their eyes from the image. This, Carter said firmly, is the power we gave ourselves. We built weapons that could end our own species. A deep, rumbling voice came from the armored student with horns. Madness. You risked everything for power. Carter nodded slowly. Yes, we stood on the edge of self-destruction. But we did not fall. We learned something no other species dared to face, that true survival is not only against the world outside, but against ourselves. The students whispered frantically. Some called humans dangerous. Others called them cursed. A few, however, began to look at Carter with something new, respect mixed with fear. He let the noise rise for a moment, then raised his hand. The hall fell quiet. Now you understand why the galaxy calls us Deathworlders. It is not because we enjoy destruction. It is because destruction never broke us. He paused, letting his words settle in their minds. When storms came, we rebuilt. When beasts attacked, we learned to fight. When ice froze the world, we made fire. When war tore us apart, we created peace again. When disease struck, we found cures. Even when we built weapons that could kill us all, we still survived. The alien students sat in stunned silence. Their teachers had never spoken like this. No lesson in the academy had ever been so raw, so brutal, yet so true. Finally, the bird-like alien spoke in a shaky voice. So, humans are not the strongest, but the most enduring? Carter nodded once. Yes, that is our true strength. Endurance. We do not stop. The hologram faded to darkness. Carter stood alone at the front of the hall, his eyes steady. In the coming days, he said quietly, I will show you why this endurance matters. Not just for us, but for you. The students shifted again, nervous but curious. What did he mean? Why would their lives depend on the lessons of Deathworlder? The lights dimmed, signaling the end of the first session. The students filed out slowly, their faces pale, their whispers filled with unease. And yet, deep in their minds, a dangerous thought was born. What if everything they had been told about humans was true? The Academy's halls buzzed with whispers long after Mr. Carter left. The alien students could not erase the images from their minds. Frozen wastelands, burning cities, and skies split by nuclear fire. For species that had lived in ordered peace for centuries, the raw brutality of human history was beyond comprehension. The insectoid student, Varix, clattered his mandibles nervously. He spoke as if suffering is normal for his kind. How can anyone live like that? The bird-like student, Luma, wrapped her wings around herself. It was not just suffering. It was will. Even when they broke, they rebuilt. My people, we would never endure such storms. We would scatter. The horned warrior student, Draxon, grunted. His voice carried both anger and unease. Or perhaps they are cursed. No species should grow strong through pain. It is unnatural. Yet despite his words, he could not erase the feeling that had crept into him when Carter's eyes had swept the hall. It was not arrogance. It was not madness. It was truth, an unshakable certainty carved by centuries of survival. For the first time, some students felt small. Later that evening, several gathered in the academy courtyard. They sat beneath glowing crystal lamps, their whispers sharp and quick. My world, Luma admitted, has not seen war in 700 years. Our skies are calm. Our seas are safe. We pride ourselves on peace. She lowered her head. But now I wonder, if storms came, would we survive? Varix clicked his claws uneasily. On my world, the Overminds guide everything. They calculate food, population, and resources. We do not suffer hunger or disease. But if the Overminds failed, he trailed off, his mandibles shivering. Draxon folded his arms across his chest. On my world, strength is tested in battle. We duel for honor, yes, but always with rules, always with limits. The human fights I saw, they had no limits. They fought as if nothing mattered but survival. The courtyard fell silent. Each student realized the same truth at once. Their civilizations had never truly been tested. Inside his quarters, Mr. Carter stood by the window, watching the alien students from a distance. He could feel their unease growing, like cracks spreading through glass. He had seen this reaction before. First disbelief, then fear, and finally, understanding. He knew what would come next. The next morning, the academy invited him again, but this time not to lecture. The alien teachers wanted answers. In the great hall, high-ranking instructors of every species gathered alongside the students. Their robes shimmered with symbols of knowledge, their faces proud but unsettled. An elder teacher with translucent skin stepped forward. "Human," she said carefully, "you spoke of endurance, of survival through fire and death. But what lesson is there for us? We have peace. We have stability. Why would we need such brutal strength?" Carter stood silently for a moment. Then he asked one question. "Do you believe peace will last forever?" The teachers exchanged glances. Some frowned, others looked offended. One finally answered, "The Council of Species maintains balance. Conflict is managed. War is not permitted." Carter's eyes hardened. Neither is disease. Neither is famine. Neither is natural disaster. "But tell me, can your council command the stars? Can it stop a plague? Can it halt the collapse of the sun?" The hall grew uneasy. The elder teacher pressed on. "You speak as though doom is certain." Carter's voice cut through the air, calm but sharp. "Doom is always certain. The question is whether you are ready for it." The students shifted in their seats. Luma's feathers trembled. Varix's claws tapped the table. Draxon's eyes narrowed, but did not look away. Carter continued, "Your worlds have been kind to you. They have sheltered you. But that kindness is a weakness. Because one day, something will come, war, famine, plague, or worse. And when it does, peace will not save you. Only endurance will." The silence that followed was heavy. Some teachers looked furious, others shaken. The students, however, leaned forward. For the first time, they saw their own civilizations not as perfect but fragile. The horned warrior, Draxon, finally spoke. His voice was low, almost grudging. "You say humans are strong because they suffered. But do you claim we must suffer as well to survive?" Carter's gaze locked on him. "Not suffer. Endure. The difference is choice. Suffering breaks you. Endurance makes you stronger. But endurance can only exist when tested. And whether you like it or not, the universe will test you." Luma whispered softly, almost to herself. "And if we fail the test?" Carter did not look away. "Then your species will vanish, just as countless others before you." The words struck like a blade. The students shifted uneasily. The teachers whispered among themselves. Draxon clenched his fists, his pride warring with a growing unease. "And you, human, you think your kind will never fall?" Carter's eyes darkened. "One day we might. But when that day comes, we will not go quietly. We will fight until the last breath because that is who we are." The room was silent. The truth in his words could not be denied. When the session ended, the teachers left quickly, their robes swaying, their whispers sharp. But the students lingered. They clustered together, their voices hushed but urgent. Varix clicked nervously. What if he is right? What if our peace is only an illusion? Luma's feathers shivered. Then we are already weak. Draxon's fists clenched. His voice rumbled low. No, then we must become strong. Stronger than we have ever been. Above them, in the dark sky, the stars burned silently. And for the first time, the alien students looked at them not as lights of wonder, but as shadows of threat. The alien classroom had grown quiet. No one laughed anymore. The alien students stared at the human teacher, their glowing eyes reflecting the stormy holograms of Earth that hovered above. The images of predators, volcanoes, storms, and earthquakes had shaken them. But the teacher had not stopped. His calm voice continued to cut through the silence like a blade. "Now," the teacher said, his eyes sweeping the room, "you understand the danger of my home world. But here is what makes humans different. We do not only survive in danger. We walk toward it." A murmur spread through the aliens. A tall insectoid student raised a sharp hand. "But why? Why would any species move toward danger? It is not logical. The strong thing is to avoid what can kill you." The teacher smiled, as if he had expected this question. He tapped the hologram, and the stormy oceans of Earth filled the air. Giant waves crashed, lightning split the skies, and small wooden ships appeared sailing across the chaos. "Look here," the human said. "These are human explorers. Thousands of years ago, our ancestors did not even know what lay across the oceans. They still built ships and sailed. Many died, yet they kept going. And because of this, we discovered the world. We connected lands. We learned. Danger taught us who we were." Gasps rose in the classroom. An avian alien with bright feathers covered her beak in horror. "But so many deaths, why would you accept such risk?" "Because," the teacher replied softly, "fear does not control us. We feel it, but we walk forward anyway. That is what it means to be human." The words sank deep into the students' minds. For a moment, even their strange alien hearts felt something heavy, something between respect and fear. The teacher then changed the hologram again. Now the image showed a mountain with white snow. Tiny human figures climbed it, their faces frozen, bodies weak, yet still moving upward. "This," he said, "is Mount Everest, the tallest mountain on Earth. It is deadly. The air is thin, the cold can kill. But humans climb it again and again. Not for survival, not for food, not for shelter. We climb because it is there." The aliens looked at each other in disbelief. To them, the act was pure madness. A reptilian student hissed in confusion. But this proves you are reckless, not strong. Why risk your life for nothing?" The teacher leaned forward, his eyes sharp. "Because every step against death makes us stronger. Every risk we take teaches us something about who we are. That is why humans are called Deathworlders. We do not only live with danger. We challenge it." The classroom fell into a heavy silence. The aliens shifted uncomfortably in their seats. They were used to safety, to predictable lives, to a universe controlled by logic and order. The humans' words felt like thunder inside their minds. But then a young alien in the back, a small one with glowing blue skin, raised her hand timidly. "Teacher, if you live like this, always in danger, how do humans live so long as a species? Shouldn't you all be extinct?" The human smiled faintly. "That is the miracle, isn't it? Every danger that should have destroyed us made us stronger instead. We learned fire from lightning. We learned farming from famine. We built medicine from sickness. We turned every weakness into a weapon. That is why we are still here." The aliens' eyes widened. They could see now that humans were not just survivors. There was something else, something more dangerous. The teacher let the silence grow, then spoke again. His voice was calm, but it carried weight. "You live in a galaxy where danger is avoided. But humans, we come from a place where danger cannot be avoided. You run from storms. We learn to walk through them. You hide from predators. We became predators ourselves. That is the difference." The hologram shifted once more. This time it showed human astronauts walking on the surface of the moon. Then, rockets launching into the void of space. And when Earth was not enough, the teacher continued, "We left it. We went beyond the sky. Because we are not afraid to face the unknown." A ripple of shock went through the students. Some leaned back, some whispered in low voices. One whispered, This is why humans scare the galaxy." The teacher looked around, his expression unreadable. "Now you understand. Danger is not our enemy. It is our teacher. And because of this, There is no place in this galaxy where humans cannot stand. The silence in the classroom was complete now. No laughter, no mocking whispers. Only the sound of alien hearts beating faster than before. But then, the insectoid student who had spoken earlier slowly raised his voice. If everything you say is true, then you humans, you are not like us at all. You are something else. Something we should fear. The teacher finally smiled. Fear us if you must. But remember this, fear does not stop us. And one day, you may find that it will not stop you either. The lights of the hologram faded. The alien students sat frozen, their minds shaken, their worldview cracked. The lesson was over, but the weight of it pressed against them like gravity. The galaxy had taught them that safety was survival. But the human had shown them another truth, one that would haunt their dreams. Sometimes survival meant walking into danger, not away from it. The alien academy had never been so quiet. The lesson from the human teacher still echoed in every student's mind. They walked out of the classroom in silence, their glowing eyes dim, their wings, scales, or feathers drooping in thought. None of them dared laugh. None of them dared mock humans anymore. But that night, something happened. The academy sat on the edge of a gas giant, orbiting inside a massive station. It was supposed to be safe, untouchable, guarded by fleets. But safety is only an illusion. Alarms suddenly screamed across the halls. Red lights flashed. A deep voice thundered from the speakers. Warning! Hull breach. Debris impact. Emergency protocol activated. Panic exploded through the alien students. They ran, their long legs and wings colliding in chaos. Some screamed in fear, others hid in corners, trembling. They had trained for drills, but drills were not real. Reality was colder, heavier. In the middle of the panic, one figure did not move. The human teacher. He stood in the corridor, his eyes scanning the chaos, his face calm. He walked through the stampede as if it were nothing, calling out above the sirens. Stop running. Running will not save you. Listen to me. But the aliens were blinded by fear. They shoved past him, desperate to find safety. The ground shook beneath their feet as another impact rattled the station. Metal screamed, air hissed through cracks. The human teacher turned, his voice sharp now, cutting through the noise. If you run from danger, you will die. If you face it, you will live. Choose now. The words froze some of the students. The insectoid who had challenged him earlier stopped, trembling. The small blue-skinned girl who had asked about extinction clutched her glowing hands to her chest, staring at the teacher with wide eyes. The teacher moved quickly. He grabbed a panel on the wall, ripped it open, and pulled out a manual override lever. His muscles strained, veins standing out, but he forced it down. Emergency bulkheads slid into place, sealing one corridor. See, he barked. Face danger, control it. Now help me. Slowly, a few aliens stepped forward. The insectoid student used his sharp claws to cut wires blocking another panel. The avian with feathers used her wings to carry tools. The small blue girl pressed her glowing hands against a cracked seal, slowing the air leak with her energy field. The others watched, torn between fear and shame. The teacher's voice grew calmer, steadier. You are afraid. Good. So am I. Fear is normal. But courage is not the absence of fear. It is moving forward while afraid. That is the human way. Another impact rocked the station. Sparks rained down, fire bursting in one section of the corridor. The reptilian student shrieked and tried to flee, but the teacher's voice stopped him cold. If you run now, the fire spreads. If you stay, we kill it. Decide. The reptilian froze, then, with shaking claws, turned back. Together, they pulled down extinguishers and fought the flames. The fire hissed, smoke curling upward, until the flames died. Bit by bit, the chaos turned into order. Students who had been frozen by fear now moved with purpose. They helped the teacher seal cracks, stop fires, reroute power. Their bodies shook, but their hands worked. The lesson of the day was no longer words. It was action. Minutes passed like hours. Finally, the alarm shifted. The deep voice of the station computer spoke again. Emergency contained. Hull secured. Life support stable. The red lights dimmed. The sound of silence returned. The aliens collapsed to the floor, exhausted, their bodies trembling. But they were alive. They had not been saved by fleets or safety systems or running. They had been saved because they faced the danger. The human teacher stood over them, his chest rising and falling, his face streaked with smoke. But his eyes burned with something fierce. He looked around at his students, once mocking, once dismissive, now changed. "You see now," he said softly, "words mean nothing without action. Today, you faced what you feared, and you lived. That is what it means to be more than prey. That is what it means to be human." The insectoid student lowered his sharp head in respect. The avian bowed her wings. The reptilian hissed low, not in anger this time, but in something like reverence. The small blue-skinned girl whispered, almost to herself, We are not the same as we were this morning." The teacher nodded. "No, you are not. You have learned the first human lesson. Fear is not the end. It is the beginning." Silence hung for a moment, then one by one, the students rose. Their eyes no longer glowed with mockery. They glowed with something else, respect, maybe even admiration. And deep down, a seed of fear remained too. But it was no longer fear of danger. It was fear of what humans truly were. The galaxy had always laughed at humans, called them fragile, weak, illogical. But tonight, in the heart of an academy once filled with pride, a group of alien students had seen the truth. Humans were not fragile. They were forged in fire, sharpened by storms, hardened by death itself. And when danger came, they did not run. They walked toward it. The students would never forget that night. And when they spoke of it later, across the galaxy, they all repeated the same words, whispered with awe and dread. This is why humans are dangerous. This is why they survive.